to What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Impact Over Income Show. We have an amazing guest today with us, and his name is Keala Kanae. He's an award-winning marketer and entrepreneur. He's the founder of the company Full Stack Marketer, and the company has done over $70 million in sales. So I'm glad to have him here. You guys are going to learn a lot from his experience, his expertise, and some of the things that he might have done that you guys can really, benefit from in growing your business, especially as a coach or a consultant, or even as an entrepreneur in general. So, hey, Keala, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you inviting me out.
Sure, for sure. And I hope the business is progressing forward. Everything is going well.
Yeah, awesome. Things are good. Yeah, I mean, we're ahead of schedule for this year, so we're ahead of our goal currently for the year. So wow. I got no complaints at the moment.
Wow, that's amazing to hear. So so just to dive right into the show, so that we don't waste too much of your time. I just wanted to just start off by just asking you, so that my audience can kind of know who you are. Just to share who you are, where you're from, and how you really got started in the online space, basically.
Yeah, no problem, man. So I'm born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. I moved to Las Vegas in 2016. I got into the online space originally in 2010. So I started learning about online marketing 2010 because at that time, so I had tried, everything as an what I would call a wantrepreneur. Meaning that, I started my first business in 2000 when I was like 18 years old. And then that was doing nightclub promotions. And then I had tried kind of all of the work from home type things. I joined probably every network marketing company you can think of. I did all the hotel meetings, that sort of thing. I did cold calls. I worked in mortgages. I tried to do some financial advising at one point, tried a personal coaching business. I was doing all sorts of stuff. And then in 2010, I was selling a real estate investment education as an affiliate. And I went online and just kind of Googled like how to generate leads online because, I didn't have any friends or family members that were going to talk to me anymore after all the different things I had pitched them over the years. And then that got me going down the rabbit hole of online marketing. I wouldn't say that I really took it seriously until about 2012 when I really started applying myself. And part of the reason that I started really applying myself is August of 2012. I kind of hit, my version of rock bottom where I basically walked into my mom's bedroom while she was doing some laundry. I lived in my mom's spare bedroom. I was 29 years old living in my mom's spare bedroom. And working in a coffee shop for minimum wage. And walked into her bedroom while she was doing some laundry. I was like, "Hey, Ma, you got that box that you were going to take down to Goodwill for that friend of yours?" And she's like, "Well, I do, but why do you need it?" And I was like, "Well, I saw that there were some purses in it, and I was wondering if I could go, sift through it a bit because tomorrow is Tiani's birthday. Tiani's my other half." I said, "Tomorrow's Tiani's birthday, and I literally don't have any money to get her anything." So August 14th of 2012, I gave my girlfriend somebody else's trash for her birthday. And I was like, well, this sucks. I don't ever want to be in this situation again. And so then I started to get really serious about doing something to get out of that situation. About 7 months later, I quit my job in the coffee shop, had my first 5-figure month. And that was through affiliate marketing over the next few years. So from between that April 2013, I quit my job. And went full-time online, had my first 5-figure month. By about 2015, by the end of 2015, I had done my first $1 million online as an affiliate. And most of the questions that I got at the time were from people who wanted to know what I was doing. There were more people that were interested in what I was doing than what I was selling at times. So, so basically, I started teaching people stuff. I had some Facebook groups, this and that. And then in 2015, I got together with a friend of mine and we decided to start our own courses and coaching business. We launched that. at the end of 2016. So November of 2016, we opened the
What
doors to the public.
Was that like is it like an affiliate marketing coaching business, or what exactly?
Yeah, so we basically started teaching people affiliate marketing. We were teaching them what we were doing. So it was everything affiliate marketing in terms of like finding offers, driving traffic, building sales funnels, kind of the whole gambit. I mean, the whole point of us putting together the program was to put everything that we had learned under one roof, because both he and I had gone through, the rigmarole of finding all these different things on the internet and trying to put all these different strategies together from different quote unquote gurus. And we never really had a place where everything was under one roof. So that was our idea. We'll put it all under one roof. We launched in November of 2016, the very tail end of November of 2016, right after Thanksgiving. We opened up to the public. And by March of 2017, so about 4 months later, we had our first $1 million month. By the end of 2017, we had done just shy of $20 million in sales.
Wow.
2018, we continued growing just a little bit, not quite at that same rate. And then also in 2018, we decided to part ways. I ended up buying him out. He launched another business, and then I rebranded the company in 2019 to what is now a full stack marketer. So same stuff, just under a different name, different logos, different iconography, that sort of thing. But yeah, that kind of sums it up. That's basically my background at this point.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. So just within the space of a year, you're able to make $20 million in revenue for your business.
Yeah.
What would you say were some of the things that you had to do in order to hit that goal? Or when you were able to hit that goal, were you like a bit surprised that, whoa, I didn't expect to hit this amount of sales within a short period of time? Or you were like, you're not really surprised that you're able to hit that goal?
I was definitely surprised. So we had this mantra between he and I of like, one of our goals was to get to $1 million a month in revenue. And I thought that would take some time. I definitely didn't expect that we would hit it 4 months after we opened the doors to the public. Nor did I necessarily expect that we would get to 20 million or just shy of 20 million in our first year. So it definitely came as a surprise. And I'm not sure that I would normally recommend that to the average person. So the interesting thing about growing that quickly, or there's lots of interesting things about growing that quickly, let me tell you. But one of the interesting things that I get is that whenever I speak to like newer up and coming entrepreneurs, they're always, blown away by that. And wow, how did you do it? What kind of tips would you give me? But when I speak to veteran entrepreneurs, people that have been, through the battle of entrepreneurship, they typically are like, whoa, man, what were you thinking? Why would you do that to yourself? Like, that's such a different response, and at the time I didn't know any better. So, we were already very, very, very good at marketing and sales. We were very good at that. So we had an advantage that most businesses don't necessarily have, especially, maybe in the coaching and consulting space. You typically have people that are experts in something, but not necessarily experts in marketing and sales. We were experts at marketing and sales. We weren't necessarily experts at fulfillment or delivery. Or course creation, or
operations,
systems, or operations, or hiring, or firing, or those sorts of things. We brought in lots of customers and brought in lots of revenue, and we paid prices for it on the back end in terms of like scrambling to fulfill on all the promises that were made in order to drive that revenue. So it definitely came with its share of bumps and bruises. And then that's why in 2019, when I rebranded the company, I actually scaled us back considerably. I scaled us all the way back down to about $10 million, I believe, in 2019. And I did that intentionally for us to, slow down and build a much more solid foundation in order for us to scale back up. Because I kind of realized at the rate that we had grown and with all the challenges that we were facing, we would still make good money if we stayed on that path, we'd make some decent money, but we wouldn't be around in 10 years.
Mm.
And I wanted to go for the long money, not the short money, right? So, I decided to slow things down, and I really got focused on building better teams, building better systems, refining operations. Definitely got a lot better at the fulfillment component of business, and and now we're scaling back up again. So, that's kind of the brief history of that.
Wow, it's very interesting that you said it, because I was actually watching a training by Sam Ovens, and he was saying that most businesses that want to go to 8 figures and beyond need to stop promoting, like, not so much. You need to focus more on operations. Like, you need to master operations when you're going to 8 figures and beyond, because if you're just promoting, and you don't have a very good delivery system in place for those people that are coming in, it's going to really affect your reputation in the market, because people like these people are not delivering what they're promising on the ads or on the videos that we are seeing. And it can really affect a lot of businesses, because people will be like, you said this on the ad, how come I'm not really getting what I'm paying for? Especially if you're getting situations where people are paying thousands of dollars for your services or for your coaching, and you don't have a good delivery system in place. Even though you're having the sales coming in, it's not going to help you last longer, because you have to focus more on the reputation. You have to see your business going long term, 10, 20, 30 years, not just the quick amount of money that you can make right now. Because most people, they boast on the revenue they make. But if you were to go to the customers, those people will be complaining a lot that these people are not really doing what they say they should do. And it really affects your reputation, and people won't see you in the market for a long time.
Yeah. So, and I would agree with all of that. And I think that from my experience of Sam, I mean, I think that we agree on most topics. We definitely disagree on some other topics. But by and large, I would, I'll share from my experience. One of the things that I realized in 2018 is that because we were so because both my partner and I, when we started, we're marketers. We were marketers first, right? So we see the world through marketing. That's it. Like, we see the world through a marketing lens. All of our focus was on customer acquisition, cost per acquisition, CPM, CPA. If you looked at all of our sales funnels and marketing campaigns, we had tons of KPIs tracking the performance of all of that, right? But one of the things that I realized in 2018 is that there was a point at which acquisition met attrition. So we're only acquiring customers at the same rate that we're losing customers. And at that point, we're just on a treadmill. And we're not actually on a treadmill. We're racing against an invisible clock. And the invisible clock is our reputation, because while, yes, we're bringing on customers at the same rate that we're losing them, so to speak, right? That would sound as if we were basically running in place. However, what we're not actually running in place, because our reputation is most likely declining as a result of that. I'm being very open and honest here about what we're experiencing. And so, that obviously is not the type of business that's going to be around for a long time. And this is just one of many problems that businesses go through when they scale very quickly. And so, so basically what I did, one of the things that I started to do is I started to obviously tailor back the team, scale back some of our marketing and stuff, and put together better fulfillment processes and all these sorts of things. And then we started to measure, build out KPIs around customer satisfaction. So as an example, we have KPIs around average ticket resolution times. So how long does it take us to resolve a problem that is brought to our support desk, as an example? We have KPIs around refund rates and refund ratio. So refund rate is the rate at which we lose customers. So what percentage of our customers that come through the front door are leaving out the back door? And then ratio refers to the cash, how much cash comes in versus how much cash goes out in the form of refunds. Those are important. And then probably the one that we measure most and we care about most in that particular department of fulfillment is the Net Promoter Score. So Net Promoter Score is super simple to implement. It's basically a single question questionnaire. And it basically is just, how likely are you to refer us to a friend or family member? It's one question. And we implemented that everywhere that we touch a customer after a sale. We implement that. Or if they're in the refund process, we also implement that. A lot of businesses, from people I talk to, they might implement that, but they don't, I think, to implement it in their refund process. And if you don't implement it in your refund process, then you're not gathering the data from all of your customers, especially you're not gathering the data from all the customers that are leaving out the back door, right? Which is also important. So we watch our Net Promoter Score very carefully. We watch those other metrics very carefully. That gives us some pulse on our overall customer satisfaction. And then also, we've also, integrated a better, like a more high touch process on the back end where we talk with customers multiple times. There's lots of hand holding and these sorts of things, which we didn't have in place when we first started. So by and large, in terms of Sam's assessment, I would agree. If you look at, I was watching an interview from Steve Jobs, not Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, back in, I think it was 97 or 98. There's this 7-minute interview of him on some, I don't know, whatever broadcast it was on. And he mentions the term customer satisfaction 97 times in a 7-minute video. He says the term customer satisfaction 97 times in a 7-minute video. And he goes on to become one of the wealthiest people in the world. And if you look at Amazon's business model, and I'm not saying that this is the right business model for everybody, but Amazon's business model was basically they're going to go upside down for 10 to 12 years, however long it was that they were in the red, keep raising capital in order to keep the company afloat. They're losing money on customer acquisition, operations, and all of it, but they're losing money because they just say they maintained an insane amount of focus on customer satisfaction, and ultimately they win the game as a result. Today, when I go shop, if I shop online, a lot of times before I buy something, I will look to see if that same product is available on Amazon, because I know if I buy it off of Amazon, one, I'm going to get it sooner, and two, the return process is going to be a lot simpler. They're not going to make me jump through 1,000 hoops in order to get a refund, right? And so Amazon has set the standard, I feel, for the direct-to-consumer e-commerce space, and every other business in the industry has to basically meet the standard that Amazon set, because they have set new expectations in the marketplace from a customer standpoint. And for that reason alone, they have network effect, which basically means that, like, the more people that are on Amazon, the more people that'll be on Amazon, because everybody's already on Amazon and everybody's telling their friends and family members about it. And I think that is a much more effective business strategy than a marketing and sales centric business strategy. And now, today I'm currently in the business, in the process of launching a new business, and we are not doing any marketing and sales. We're doing only word of mouth on that new business. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want to build a customer centric model first, versus a marketing and sales centric models. Because the moment that you start spending money on marketing and then hire a sales team and you're paying them commissions, then all of the pressure. So the moment they start spending money on customer acquisition in a considerable way, then the pressure becomes get the sale as fast as possible so that we can liquidate the cost of our advertising and keep the company flush, right? And typically, in that process, a lot of times, and if businesses are willing to be honest with themselves, a lot of times then there's an incentive to do things that are beneficial to the business, but detrimental to the customer experience. And that's just because, they're working on staying alive today versus being around tomorrow. And that level of pressure, is difficult to always make decisions through the lens of what's best for the customer when I'm worried about how am I going to pay the bills this month or meet payroll, right? But in a customer-centric model, yes, it's slower to grow. But an interesting thing to take into consideration is that if you can get 10% of your customers to refer you a customer, just 10% of your customers to refer you a customer, and I'll avoid all the mathematical equation around this, right? The mathematical jujitsu. But if you get 10% of your customers to refer you one customer, you have infinite scalability. Much more scalability than if all of your customer acquisition is done through marketing and advertising. And so the only way that you get to that type of a referral rate is by being insanely focused on customer outcomes, customer satisfaction, and customer experience. And so what's interesting that I've experienced over the last few years is I transitioned from this, kind of, just guerrilla marketer, advertising, sales, all this sorts of stuff, to now being much more focused on the marketing value of word of mouth customer satisfaction versus all the other, sexy stuff that we like to talk about in the world of online business these days. So anyway, that was a little bit of a rant. Hopefully somebody got some value out of that. Maybe somebody took a note. Or I apologize for your time that you wasted it on this. What is that, bud?
Taking notes.
Oh, your notebook. You're taking notes. Got it.
So yes, I really agree with what you say, because this is something that Gary Vee always ponders on. A lot of business owners focus on your consumers. Well, I just wanted to just do like a follow up on what you said. If somebody's kind of like struggling to pay the bills and stuff, would you suggest that they go that route, or would you suggest for them to just focus on the marketing and sales aspect of things?
Can you repeat the first part of your question? You said if somebody is struggling to pay their bills, should they focus
yes.
on?
Should they just focus on the marketing, like the front end of the marketing, the sales aspect of things? Should they just focus more on the customer-centric aspect of things?
I think that there's the balance to it, is my ultimate answer. And I'm not exactly sure what that balance is. I think that every entrepreneur is going to have to find that for themselves at some point. The reason that I can build my business that I'm rolling out right now, the reason that I can build it with a customer-centric focus is because I'm very liquid, right? I'm not starting that business from scratch or bootstrapping it. I've got millions of dollars, right, to fund it if I want to invest that into it. So I have an advantage that most businesses don't necessarily have. Most entrepreneurs don't necessarily have when they're coming up from when they're working it from the ground up. So, if I were starting all over again from scratch, I think that the difference would be that I would equally weight customer satisfaction and customer outcomes, and have just as many KPIs around that as I did about my KPIs around marketing, advertising, and our sales processes, which, just being fully transparent, I didn't have that, right? When I started, because I didn't know to have that. Nobody had ever talked to me about that. And so at the end of the day, a business that's bootstrapping is going to survive because it has sales and revenue coming in. Most problems that entrepreneurs face in the early phases of their business are not actual problems. It's just problems because they got small money. So they don't have big problems. They got small money. And when you have small money, lots of small problems seem big. If you got big money, right? Like if you take most entrepreneurs today and you sat them down, they're bootstrapping and they're maybe on their way to their first 6 figures or maybe their first 7 figures. And you took a list of all their problems and you said, well, if you had $10 million in the bank today, would all of these problems still be problems? Most of them would go away. Now, a whole new set of problems would open up, of course, but the problems that they're currently facing would go away. And so I don't necessarily think it's wise if you're bootstrapping to go like, well, I'm going to take on one customer at a time and, focus purely on customer outcomes and customer fulfillment and then hope that they refer me another customer. I don't think that that's necessarily the wisest thing to do, but I also don't necessarily think that it's wise to just focus on acquiring customers, selling to those customers, and then kind of leaving them out in the cold in fulfillment and hoping that your fulfillment team is doing what is fulfilling on what the promises you made on the front end. I think the wise thing to do is to take a balance of all of those and have them equally weighted. And when you're looking at the metrics for your business, you're looking at, what is my cost per acquisition of acquiring a customer? What is my, average customer value, average, we in our sales team, we measure average appointment value and average call value. So what is my average appointment value? What is my average call value? Is that liquidating what I'm spending to acquire a customer? And then on the back end, what is my net promoter score? And what is my average resolution time for our clients? And, at what rate are my clients leaving me positive reviews? And what reviews am I getting? Right now we have a 4.9 rating on the BBB. So we are currently rated higher on the BBB than the BBB itself. I think we have a 4.8 rating on Trustpilot. But we didn't start there. We started with, nothing. I mean, we were chasing from behind. But if you're weighting those all equally, and when it comes crunch time to make a tough decision, you're measuring, what's the best possible outcome for both the customer and the business, then I think that that's the best that you can hope for when you're in those early grind phases of entrepreneurship, And then I think a lot of entrepreneurs should also ask themselves too, do they want to go enterprise? Do they want to go? Most businesses don't end up enterprise. Most entrepreneurs go through this phase where, if they create a product that is good, then they have to build a team that fulfills on that product. And then once they start building a team, they enter into, what some might call no man's land, where everything is chaotic, everything is confusing. It feels like they're wearing all of the hats in their business. Lots of businesses go through this phase of growth where they're making more money top line, but they're making less money bottom line. In other words, there was a point in my career where I made more money as a solopreneur, taking home $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, right? In commission, that's my net. That's what I took home. There was points in my career where I was making more money as a solopreneur than I was when I had 50 and 60 employees doing $1.5 million, $2 million a month in sales. I had months on end where I was bringing in $1.5 million to $2 million in sales and losing $200,000 to $300,000 a month in cash.
Wow.
So I was upside down. Now, part of that is because I had the CFO at the time was a friend of my business partner, who was way in over his head. So part of that was bad hiring, which is still on me, and just not having the right people in the right seat on the bus. But lots of businesses that I talk to today, and lots of my friends that are going through the growing pains of going enterprise, they run into this point where it's like, man, I almost made more money doing less work. I was working less hard, making more money before I had a team. And that's why most of the businesses that hit that juncture never actually make it out the other end of no man's land. Most businesses that hit that point actually revert back to being a small business and stay small with a handful of employees, maybe, because that's where they feel the most amount of comfort. That's where they feel the most amount of return, maybe, on their input and time. And truth be told, that's where they feel like they have the most control. And I think a thing that most business owners don't understand is that growth and control are opposing forces. And entrepreneurs tend to start businesses because they want to have more control over my finances, control over my calendar, control over my destiny, control over my future, right? Control over my day-to-day activities. And because they want to have more control, they sacrifice growth. If that makes sense.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense because, like for example, Russell Brunson, because Russell Brunson is someone that loves marketing, the ads, the content creation, and he was in the kind of like was in the turning point where he has to choose being a CEO or just doing what he loves doing. And he asked Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins just told him, just do what you love, do what you've always been doing, and just put someone that is an expert at being a CEO in that position so that you can be effective at what you always do. Because I notice, most entrepreneurs want to just be like the CEO because they don't trust people. Like, I don't believe this person can do it as much as I can do it because it's my business, it's my vision. I know exactly what I want to do. But sometimes that might be very wrong, in our businesses, knowing that there are other people that are expert at being like in certain areas of the business, maybe like the financial aspect of the business, like the operating aspect of the business. So we just have to be willing to try new things. So I would say, because as an entrepreneur, you must be willing to fail for you to succeed. Because it is when you go through bad, hiring processes, they're going to discover what processes works and what processes doesn't work. So you just need to be willing to explore things and identify where you need to improve and just adjust as you're moving forward.
I agree. I agree with basically all of those points. As entrepreneurs, we got to understand that most people are not necessarily going to love our business as much as we love our business or care as much as we care. And that's okay. They're not supposed to. They're not like, that's not, if everybody on your team cared as much as you care, you'd probably end up arguing more than you ended up accomplishing because, if everybody is as passionate as the entrepreneur themselves. And then definitely something that changed our business a lot was moving from, as early stage entrepreneurs, we did a lot of, hey, I got a friend that knows how to do this and we need this role filled in the business. And I got this friend that I know, he would probably be good at it. Let me go talk to him. And then I go talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, I'd be interested in joining your team. And then, we cut off some, exorbitant amount of money to bring them on board to do something that they've never actually done before. And we think, oh, they'll probably be good for this. Or we need a role filled in the company and we have somebody who's in a different role. And we think, that person would probably be good for this other role. And so that's called promise of future performance, right? In other words, that's what we call it. We call it promise of future performance. We say, well, this person sounds promising. I bet in the future they could perform and fill this role that we need filled. And when we stopped hiring like that and we started hiring for proof of past performance, meaning that the person that we were hiring had proof that they had done the thing that we're hiring them to do before, and they had performed before satisfactorily, then our whole business changed. Because now we're bringing on people that we didn't have to train. We didn't have to come up with the ideas. We didn't have to come up with the strategy. We didn't have to, brainstorm everything together. No, they came with their ideas. They came with their processes. They came with the tools and technology that they had used before, and they instituted it in the business. And that goes, we've all heard the saying, hire people smarter than you. But most of us hear that and then go back to hiring people dumber than us right after we heard that. Okay. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not saying I'm not trying to call people smart or dumb, but you're either hiring people that have done the job before, or you're hiring people that you got to train to do the job. And if you're hiring people that you got to train to do the job, then it's really just your brain being disseminated throughout the business, right? So you become, my buddy Alex Hormozy called it one day on a interview. I heard him say the term, it's a brain with 1,000 hands versus 1,000 brains, right? And so that kind of speaks to, what Russell went through, right? And stepping out of the CEO role and being willing to hand it off to somebody else is really understanding what are his gifts and talents, and then stay inside of your genius and let somebody else's genius step in for the areas where we're weak. Because, my weakness is somebody else's gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. I know you have a lot of employees. How do you manage a lot of people on your team?
So I'd actually have a much smaller team now.
Okay.
So at one point we had 60 plus
Wow.
between employees and contractors. Today we have 21 or 22 maybe. So how do I manage multiple people on the team? That's a great question. I could talk about this a lot. In fact, this is something that I think about a lot these days. And I even think I'm even considering putting together a mastermind just on this one topic alone of like building a team and going enterprise. But I'll share with you some thoughts that scratch the surface.
Okay.
One component, one of the things that we measure, one of the things that I look at is revenue per employee. Most businesses probably don't watch this. Some probably haven't even heard of it, but revenue per employee will tell me basically what return am I getting on a hire on average, right? So last year, when I looked at the numbers towards the end of the year, I think that we were close to like $600,000 per employee.
Wow.
So, who else wants to hire somebody for 60K, but they make you 600K? You know what I mean? That's one. Yeah, of course, everybody does, right? So, but a lot of people don't watch that metric. So we watch that metric now because I went through the growing pains of having a big team and making no money, even though we had lots of revenue, right? So, that's something that we watch. And I'm just throwing that out as a KPI that people can grab onto and pay attention to. Some of the other things that we do. One is I don't manage people based on. So we don't even have a physical office. We used to have a physical office. I got rid of it in 2018. My whole team is virtual currently, and they're all over North America. Some of them are in other countries across the globe. I don't measure them based on a time clock. I literally do not care if you work 40 hours a week, 100 hours a week, or 4 hours a week. I don't care. All I care about is, do you hit the number that you have to hit in the business, right? That's it. So every department has its own set of KPIs. We have dashboard KPIs and undercarriage KPIs. So dashboard KPIs, think about it like you're driving a car. When you're driving a car, you look at the dashboard. What do you see? You see, you can see your RPMs, your speed, your fuel, and your temperature. It's basically all you got to see, because all you got to know is, am I going to arrive to where it is that I'm going alive and on time, right? That's it. Well, similar when you're flying the ship of business, right? You got to know, am I on track to get to where it is that I want to go on time and alive, right? But in your car, if the engine starts smoking all of a sudden and you're on the highway, you're going to pull the car over. You're going to call AAA or something. They're going to tow the car into a garage somewhere. That company is going to, repair shop is going to plug in a diagnostics tool into your undercarriage, and they're going to basically pull all the data out of your vehicle and figure out what is wrong, what's happening that you can't see that's broken, and then go fix it. Similar in a business. In a business, there's lots of numbers that you can watch. Most of them are inconsequential on a day-to-day basis. They don't matter. But you'll spend a fuck ton of time, overthinking things if you're looking at all the numbers. So every department has dashboard KPIs. What are the 2 or 3 most important things that we need to see on a daily basis to know that department is if I'm looking at our cost per acquisition is a key metric in marketing. Okay. And I run my marketing team, so I can talk about this because I'm in there every day. But cost per acquisition is a key metric that we look at in marketing. So if that number is red, meaning that we're paying more than we want to pay for customer acquisition, then I can look at the undercarriage and look at what are we paying cost per lead? What is our CPM? So what are we paying per 1,000 impressions? What is our cost per lead? What are the conversion rates on our landing page, on our webinar registration page, conversion rates from the webinar? I can look at all these other metrics and figure out, hey, what might be broken here? But on a day-to-day basis, I shouldn't be looking at that if my CPA is green, right? Then I don't need to worry about it. So that's dashboard and undercarriage. Now, every department has those. Then every team member in every department has to know what metrics they are being measured by and what specific metrics they're responsible for. Then every team member knows what number they have to hit, right? And if those numbers are not being hit, then that team knows, or that team member knows, that they're not performing. And they're whoever's in charge of that team or team member, or whether it's a director, a manager, these sorts of things, they also know that that person's not performing. So in other words, it's a self-reporting system. So then I don't care. If you work 2 hours today and then you take the rest of the day off, go pick up your kids, go to a movie, whatever, I don't care. Did you hit your number for the day? And if you didn't hit your number for the day and you took 2 hours off, then we're going to have an issue, right? So there's management by managing the numbers and then letting the numbers manage the team. Now that's a quantitative component. And if you're too quantitative with people, understand that these are human beings. If you're too quantitative with people, then they feel like they're just a cog in a wheel. And that's how you get this team with lots of dissension in the ranks. People have their own agendas. There's just not it'll create a toxic culture. So then there's the qualitative component of running a team, which is culture, right? So I think that every business, and I talk about this with my team, one day I sat down my leadership team and I said, I think that we have 5 different types of customers and we're not paying attention to all of them. And they were like, well, what the hell do you mean 5 different types of customers? I said, well, let me explain. So I think that one type of customer that we have is a prospect. A prospect, as I define it, is somebody who's not yet a lead on our email list. They're not in our ecosystem yet. So in other words, they are a customer of our advertisement. Is our advertisement valuable to them? That's why if you see my ads, most of my ads are about 8 to 10 minutes long, and I deliver content in my advertisement, right? That way I feel like my perfect prospect who sees it, they're like, hey, fuck, I actually learned something from that advertisement. And I'm not just some other douchebag in a private jet on social media. Although I'm also that, I guess. So prospect type of customer. Lead is a customer of our newsletter. If we are so they're a subscriber on our email list. If all we do is hammer them to death with an offer, they're gonna be gone, right? So we got to do something to keep them happy. Then we have actual customers, right? Those are people that buy. Everybody knows what their customer is. Then I have affiliates. Affiliates are customers of my affiliate program. So am I giving them everything that they need in order for them to succeed with my affiliate program? And then lastly, and I think that this is the most important customer of all, and that's a team member. And team members are customers of our culture and our opportunity that we provide to them. And if we keep our team members happy, they keep all of those other 4 types of customers happy. But most people that I, consult with, work with, talk with, and, they see their team members as a means to an end. I see my team as the end. They are, my job is to make a happy team. A happy team will make a happy business. Now, in terms of that, there's several things that we do. We have a mission, vision, values, like lots of businesses do. We also have a core belief, which is something that I created. I just came up with it because I was, wanting to have the team understand was the core belief of us as a business, the core belief that drives our decision making. Our core belief is that we believe every human being has something remarkable to offer the world. We talk about our mission, vision, values, and core belief every single week on our stand-up meeting. Every week that we have our stand-up meeting on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time, we go through those things, and I do this like kind of a popcorn thing where I go around the group and I ask them, okay, well, here's one of our company values. What's that mean to you, and who's expressed it? And then somebody on the team, I call on somebody. They say, oh, here's what it means. And so-and-so expressed it last week when they did this, this, and this. I say, great. So that person that just got nominated, I say, here's another company value. What does it mean? Who's expressed it? And then they say, oh, this is what it means. And here's who expressed it. Now, the reason that's important is at the end, all the people that were nominated, we pull names out of a hat, and some of them win Amazon gift cards, like anywhere from $50 to $100. But what's happening is the team is every week on a consistent basis, they're reminded who we are, why we do what we do, and then and how we do it. Then, and why we do it, right? So then, and then they also see that they are rewarded when they live by those values. Now it becomes such a core part of them. And we tell people in our hiring process, here's our values, here's what they mean. And if you don't believe these things, especially if you don't believe the core belief, you probably shouldn't get hired here. You're going to fucking hate it. Okay. But if you do resonate with these things, then you might be a great fit. Now, what that's done over the last couple of years is it's helped me win the hearts of my team members. So yes, I want their heads, but heads solve problems. Hearts work nights, weekends, and holidays to solve problems. Does that make sense?
Wow. Yes.
And as entrepreneurs, we work nights, weekends, and holidays to solve problems because our business has our heart. And if you can capture the hearts of your team members, they'll work nights, weekends, and holidays to solve problems because they find their work meaningful. So going back to your question, how do I manage teams? I create numbers that manage the people, and I create a culture that captures their heart.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot so far. Wow, that is very, very insightful. So let me just wrap up by asking this question: who are some of the people, like maybe marketers or entrepreneurs, that you really, really look up to?
Well, you think that I would have more answers for that? Because I mean, I do study marketers or entrepreneurs. I don't know if you've ever read Amazon's annual letter to shareholders.
No.
When Bezos was doing them himself, I used to read those, and I find Bezos a very interesting and inspiring human being. Probably a lot of entrepreneurs do, though, maybe for different reasons. But I think he's very insightful, very wise, brings a lot of wisdom. And I've learned a lot from him, even just reading his shareholder letters. Hormozy is somebody that's come up recently. I mean, he came out of he had no social media presence, and then went to over 100,000 subscribers on basically every platform known to man. And he's been delivering some incredibly good content. So I've definitely enjoyed his stuff. He actually almost bought from me on a call in 2016. Although on that call, we kind of figured out that what we had to offer wasn't going to be a fit for what he was trying to accomplish. But in 2000, look at what he's accomplished in those 6 years since. Russell, I mean, I think Russell's done a pretty awesome job with ClickFunnels. Not necessarily in the sense of ClickFunnels as a tool, but in the culture that he built around the tool, which is what has made the tool a icon in the marketplace, so to speak. Is that ClickFunnels is more of a movement than a piece of software, and I think that that's part of his marketing genius, and I definitely give him credit for that. I guess I'll leave it there.
So thank you so much, Keala. We really learned a lot. And just to wrap this up, sorry, because this thing was very intriguing to me. I saw from your Facebook post where you were saying that one of the webinars you did, you had, I think, over 600 people attend the webinar. You said you had over 90% show up rate and over 90% stick through rates.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever seen that anywhere before. So just give me
$600,000 in sales is what that ended up in.
Wow. How do you do that? I've never heard that before. Stats are insane, man.
So I think it was was it Gary Halbert? I think Gary Halbert, who used to ask his clients, you know, if we were to compete with a burger business, and I might be botching this, right? I haven't heard it in a long time, but let's say that we were competing, we were all starting a burger business. What advantage would you want to have? And most people say, well, you know, I want to have better buns, or I want to have better meat, or I want to have lower prices, or I want to have, you know, more attractive marketing, or whatever it is. And Gary Halbert would say, great. All I want is a starving audience. And that's, I think, that's basically why. But why I had a webinar with over 90% show up rate, 96% stick rate to the 2.5 hour mark, which is basically the entire webinar, and then 600,000 in sales from that webinar with 600 attendees is right. I had a starving audience, and I had exactly the thing that they needed, that they were looking for. And so it's right offer, right audience, right time. Right. And it's something that I think that you develop over time as a skill set. But there's no tricks, there's no tactics. There wasn't like some cool tool that I used to get people to show up, or some NLP technique that I used to sell them. Although there is a lot of NLP techniques that I use. It's the fact that it was the right audience, right offer, right time. That's it.
Man, this is like, I don't know, this is like a coaching session right now, man. I've learned so much. Wow. I'm sure my audience are going to learn a lot. Wow. Light bulb moment right now. I want to thank you so much, Keala, for really, you know, taking out the time to be here and, you know, giving us your insights, your experiences, and some of the things that you feel people should do and some of the things people should avoid. I really appreciate it. So just to round up, how can maybe my audience want to learn more about what you do and maybe partner with your business or your company? How can they really get to know more about you and what you do, and how to reach out to you to get maybe your services and your products?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm rebuilding my personal website right now, kealakanae.com. So that's down at the moment. Best place to connect with me, probably, if you like want to get more content from me and value from me, would be probably on Instagram or YouTube. So subscribe to me on YouTube, Keala Kanae, Instagram at Keala Kanae. Note that at the moment that we are recording this, if you follow me on Instagram, you will be also followed by a bunch of catfish pretending to be me on Instagram, who will then email you, or who will then message you and try to steal Bitcoin or some other form of cryptocurrency from you. Very popular scam going on all over Instagram right now amongst any influencer with any decent sized audience. But those two platforms would be the best place to reach me. I mean, I drop a video a week on YouTube currently with content similar to what we're talking about. And I'm dropping reels and posts on Instagram 5 to 7 days a week with content similar to what we're talking about. So Keala Kanae on YouTube, or at Keala Kanae on Instagram. Probably the best place to stay connected.
Awesome. So I'm going to make sure I drop that in the description section, guys. If you guys are going to be watching this, I'm going to drop his social media handle so that you guys can really consume his content, learn a lot from what he has experienced, and really grow your life and your business. So thank you so much, Keala Kanae. I really, really appreciate you, and I do wish you the very best in life and also in your business.
Hey, Josh, can I say something real quick before we go?
Awesome. Okay. Sure.
You know, so I agreed to this podcast, this interview, mostly because of who you are and how you show up, dude. So, you know, I've seen you posting in ClickFunnels, your videos. You ask people for their opinions. You ask them for their feedback on some of the content that you've produced inside of the ClickFunnels Facebook group. For whatever reason, there tends to be a lot of, like, I don't know, negative folks at times in that group. People drop their comments and they're like brutally cruel to you sometimes, I think. Which, hey, some of us need some, you know, brutal feedback every now and then.
Yeah, sure.
But but a couple of days later, you drop another piece of another piece of content. You basically just don't give a shit what people say about you, which is awesome.
Yeah.
On top of that, bro, like you're doing your podcast right now. You're not worried about having the nicest fucking background or the best audio setup or the best lighting setup. You're not concerned about the fact that you have a little bit of an accent. Or or maybe that English is your second language. Like you're just not caught up on all the bullshit that people let stand between them and their success, bro. And I am inspired watching you as a result of that. And that's why I took this call, man. So regardless of whether or not people like this podcast or not, regardless of what people say about you, bro, you just keep doing you. And if I can do anything to support you along the way, I'd be happy to, bro, because like you're the epitome of what it looks like to be in the grind phase of being an entrepreneur, man. So you keep doing you, bro.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me coming from you.
I think I lost.
I think there was a connection problem. So yeah, thank you so much for the compliment. I really appreciate you. We just have to do what we have to do to really progress and impact a lot of lives, because that's what this show is all about: impacting over income. We need to make a positive change in the lives of people. So thank you so much, Keala Kanae. I really appreciate you, and I do wish you a nice day, a nice one in your business, and also your life.
Likewise, brother. Later,
Cheers.
man.